To participants in the General Chapter of the Sisters of St. Paul of Chartres, of the Salesian Missionaries of Mary Immaculate, and the Sisters of St. Catherine Virgin and Martyr, and of the Discalced Carmelites on the Holy Land. September 22nd, 2025. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, peace be with you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm pleased to meet you this morning. On the occasion of your General Chapters and Assemblies, I greet the superiors present and all of you, along with some of your confreres who are accompanying you in these gatherings. A common trait of the institutes to which you belong is the courage that marked their beginnings. I would therefore like to draw inspiration for a brief reflection from a passage in the book of Proverbs which says, quote, "A strong woman who can find, she is more precious than jewels," end quote. That's from Proverbs 31:10. I believe your histories offer an answer to that question. In them, God found not one, but many strong and courageous women who do not hesitate to take risks and confront problems in order to embrace His plans and respond yes to His call. However, they paved this way for many others who, like you, have followed Christ in His poverty, chastity, and obedience, carrying on His work, sometimes even to the point of martyrdom. We're speaking of extraordinary women who went forth as missionaries in difficult times. They stooped down to care for those suffering moral and material misery, reaching the most neglected areas of society. To remain close to those in need, they accepted the risk of losing their lives, even to the point of dying as victims of brutal violence in times of war. An ancient hymn from the Liturgy of the Hour sings the praises of women like them, revealing their secret with these words, quote, "With fasts her body was she subdued, but filled her soul with prayers sweet food. In other worlds she tastes the bliss," end quote. That's from Hymnus Fortum Virili Pectore Communum Sanctorum Mulierum ad the First Vespers, for the Common of Holy Women, I believe. It's one of the hymns. These are wise and profound words, which recall the roots of your consecrated life, both in contemplation and in apostolic service. The strength to remain faithful in both areas comes from the same source, Christ. The Church's experience over millennia teaches that the means by which we draw on the richness of His grace include asceticism, prayer, the sacraments, intimacy with God, His Word, and the things of heaven. And there's referencing Colossians 3:1-2. Perhaps some people in our overly immanentist world might dismiss this as a type of spiritualism, but such a view is easily refuted by the testimony of what your congregations have accomplished over the centuries and continue to do today. Indeed, it is only through the strength that comes from God that all this has been possible. After all, we experience this truth every day. Our work is in the Lord's hands, and we are only small inadequate instruments or, quote, unworthy servants, end quote, as the gospel says. There he's referencing Luke 17:10. Yet, if we entrust ourselves to Him and remain united with Him, great things can happen precisely through our poverty. In this regard, St. Augustine advised virgins, quote, "Set out for the heights with the foot of humility. He, God, lifts up those who follow Him with humility. Entrust to Him the gifts He has given you, so that He may preserve them. Lay your strength before Him." There he's, end quote. That's referencing Psalm 58:10. And it's from St. Augustine's De Sancta Virginitate 52-53. St. John Paul II, reflecting on religious life in light of Christ's transfiguration, there's referencing Matthew 17:1-9, spoke of, quote, an ascent to the mountain and a descent from the mountain, end quote. That's from Pope John Paul II's Vita Consacrata, Article 14. As a consequence, quote, "The disciples who have enjoyed this intimacy with the Master, surrounded for a moment by the splendor of the Trinitarian life and of the communion of saints, and as it were caught up in the horizon of eternity, are immediately brought back to daily reality where they see Jesus only, in the lowliness of His human nature, and are invited to return to the valley, to share with Him the toil of God's plan, to set off courageously on the way of the cross," end quote. That's from the same document, same place. In this light, we look to Regina Protman, Maria Gertrude of the Precious Blood, Marie Anne de Tilly, together with Father Louis Chauvet, Saint Teresa of Avila, and the hermits of Mount Carmel as examples of those intimately united with God and thus consecrated to His service and to the good of the whole Church. They were committed to planting and strengthening in the hearts of their brothers and sisters that same kingdom of Christ they firstly experienced within themselves, and to spreading it throughout the world. There he's referencing Lumen Gentium, Vatican II, Article 44. Dear sisters, this is the legacy you have received. It is what makes your presence here so meaningful. Even today, in fact, there is need for generous women. In this regard, I extend a special greeting to the Discalced Carmelite sisters of the Holy Land who are present here. What you're doing is important. Through your vigilant and silent presence in places sadly torn apart by hatred and violence, through your witness of trusting abandonment to God, and through your constant entreaties for peace, we all accompany you with our prayers, and through you draw close to those who suffer. Thank you to all of you sisters for the good you do in so many countries and diverse contexts around the world. I bless you from my heart, and I remember you in my prayers to the Lord.